Hey, what's going on, guys? I just did a reacts video for this storm that's currently starting today, leading into the weekend and on to Monday, going to eviscerate. And that's no exaggeration. This is a once in a decade storm. This massive winter storm, I just did a reacts video to under Ryan Hall, my favorite meteorologist, on YouTube. And this storm stretches 2,000 plus miles from the southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, through the southern plains and Mississippi Valley into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. It's affecting 30 plus states and over 235 million people. Okay, this is not a small storm. Here's what you'll glean from any type of media right now. The number one priority in the world is what's going on in Minnesota. And for me, as somebody, for me personally, in Heber City, Utah, we just had an earthquake here yesterday. I'm on the tail end of this, but I have friends and family scattered throughout this storm. And for me, that's the number one priority. And they're only getting the news on this from the Weather Channel or from Ryan Hall from YouTube, because everybody's focused on what's going on in Minnesota. Or this 5-year-old kid that was allegedly arrested by ICE, which is not true. In fact, the 5-year-old kid was picked up by federal agents because his dad was illegally here. Now, what should federal agents do? Like JD Vance said in a press conference, should we let him freeze to death? What are you talking about? We have to go into the school and get the child and put them into protection. And they took him to McDonald's and they hung out with the boy because his dad was here illegally. Anyways, I digress hardcore. Across roughly 40 states, there's heavy snow, accumulations as much as 2 feet, freezing rain, ice, and extreme cold. The worst combination is this combination of ice and extreme cold, because many of the places, including right now where it's originating in northern Texas, Oklahoma, aren't prepared infrastructure-wise with ice. I used to talk about an Atlanta storm in when I was working with Fieldcraft Survival, in an example of a worst-case scenario that was a natural disaster. And you would think, worst-case scenario, natural disaster. No, Mount St. Helens exploding, 8 plus Richter scale earthquake. No, a thin sheet of ice in Georgia happened to be a massive casualty creating and natural disaster. Why? Because they're not prepared for that. So when the infrastructure, for example, the power lines that transfer and logistically disseminate power throughout the grid, when they aren't load rated for heavy amounts of ice, they collapse, they break, they snap, they fall, and the power goes out. So the power in a place where they are prepared would be out on purpose for 24, 48, 72 hours. In these regions, in Atlanta, in this example, they were out for weeks. People were gridlocked in traffic. I just saw it. You might have seen it, a massive pileup in Michigan where 100 plus people in a blizzard with little to no visibility were in a pileup that injured lots of people. It didn't kill anybody, fortunately. But it's okay, there's an expectation of what's going to happen and what we should be prepared for and what our infrastructure is prepared for and what is stretching the limits of that. This entire storm, which is coming from a polar vortex pull down of Arctic air, is that red line. It's colliding with subtropical moisture, and the jet stream is creating an unusual, large, and intense winter pattern. The type of hazards that are defined, heavy snow, we're talking 10 plus inches. My video guy, Julian, was supposed to fly out to meet me in Colorado to do some content. Well, it turns out him flying from Toledo, Ohio, for example, where they're expected to get over 10.5 plus inches, that's just not going to happen. It's not feasible, because that's 10.5 inches over a period of time. And then The airport will shut down, certainly. The roads will shut down. The electricity will be out. So I can't have him fly to Colorado to meet with me to do a video when his family could be in dire straits or a bad circumstance. Freezing rain and crippling ice. The biggest threats right now are south and parts of the southeast, to include Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, where again, they're not used to that heavy amount of accumulation of what's called flat ice, where Ryan Hall expects in a band of this for them to get an inch of this flat ice. That's insane. That's insane. And then obviously extreme cold and wind chills. One, if you are going to get anything, because we're in the window for it right now, guys. You might be watching me and you're in this storm area. It's everything east of the Mississippi, essentially. If you're listening to this, you have 48, 72 hours, potentially. Some of you are already in it if you're in Texas and Oklahoma. But what you could do is, as a priority, focus on staying warm for an extended period of time, because all the temperatures are obviously crashing. Having a generator, having blankets, sleeping bags, a wood-burning stove. There's nothing simpler than there's nothing more magical than a wood-burning stove. When I was in Colorado and my gas furnace went out, I had to use what was it, 7,500 feet? I had to use a wood-burning fireplace to keep myself warm. Like I was sleeping with Pearl by the fireplace. That can happen. It can happen to you. And if the electricity is affected long-term, the gas lines affected long-term, it can happen for an extended period of time where you need to be prepared. Not just for yourself, for your neighbors and for your family, right? Your neighbor might be 70 plus years old. When I lived in Prescott, Arizona, every time we got an ice storm, the entire neighborhood right above downtown Prescott would go out. The electricity would go out. And some of that was on purpose because the ice, if it broke anything, it would cause a lot of dangerous electrical issues. They would turn it off. My neighbors didn't have generators. I had a 17 kilowatt generator hooked to my house. We never had issues with electricity. We had heat. My neighbors, elderly, had no heat. I almost nearly got crushed because a pine tree snapped and fell off and landed on my FJ40. Thank God it was the hood of my FJ40 and not the hood of my body, my head. Right now, a weak system over California began evolving into this historic storm. The winter storm watches and warnings expanded southwest through Texas and the southeast. Today, we're expecting heavy snow in northwest Texas, Oklahoma City. Significant travel disruptions throughout the United States. Over 1,300 flights already expected or have been canceled, and many more expected. Going into Saturday, which is the peak of this, and Saturday and Sunday, the storm is expected to peak in its intensity. The southern plains to Mississippi Valley will see a mix of ice and snow, with parts of Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana forecast for catastrophic ice accumulation. Again, it's the meteorologists on like Weather Channel have predicted 1/2 inch to 0.75. Ryan Hall says it's expected to be an inch. He doesn't know why the estimates are so low, but he thinks it's going to be an inch. Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, including Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston, are forecast for heavier snow amounts from 6 to 12 plus inches. Road travel will be dangerous to impossible with untreated surfaces likely treacherous. Late weekend into early next week, this is Sunday, Monday, this Arctic air trailing the storm will drive record or near record cold. It will keep the snow and ice on the ground. Nothing's going to melt off. And then clean up is going to be nearly impossible, which is going to cause massive travel interruptions. Imagine a blanket of ice on a runway. How are you going to clean that up? You're not until the weather turns, because no amount of salt is going to be able to fix that problem. The geographical impacts, ice risk is especially high from East Texas through the southern plains of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, and to Mississippi. And those are the worst places for it because they're ill prepared. The threat is going to lead. It's not could be or could lead. it is going to lead to widespread power outages, down trees, and long duration travel paralysis. I have a buddy right now who's in Florida, and I'm like, bro, you better make a plan, because everybody who's being segmented through Atlanta, it is going to be very difficult as the funnel thins out for them to get through that. Infrastructure and travel, already seeing major airline cancellations, rail disruptions, and interstate travel. And then there's going to be second and third order effects. Public safety. Guys, hazardous driving conditions, low visibility. That's typically what happens. There's going to be an increase in accident risk. Stay off the roads. You know what the forecast is for me in Utah? It's like 30 degrees and sunny, which is wild. These freezing temperatures following the storm could cause cold exposure, infrastructure freeze hazards, pipes, heating systems. If you don't have those things in place, try to get those things in place if you can. Insulate your pipes if you don't have them insulated. But it's going to cause massive short-term to mid-term issues. And look, I mean mid-term like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? This storm is expected to progress eastward through Sunday, but that trail of Arctic air and freezing temperatures is going to sustain all the issues on the ground. Also, we're going to deal with this massive ice accumulation that's going to definitely damage lines and trees. I suspect some people will die from falling trees. Some people will freeze to death from hypothermia. We saw this storm a couple years ago in New York, where a young lady in her 20s died in her car from carbon monoxide poisoning right after she was like FaceTiming her family stuck in a neighborhood. Don't let this happen to you or to somebody you love. Lastly, I will say that, look, whenever there's storms like this, there is a shithead somewhere thinking to himself, how can I take advantage of the situation? One, we all know that guy exists. Two, be prepared for that guy. Don't worry about your property. Who cares about your property? You could always get your property return on insurance, whatever. It's not worth anybody's life for property. But your home, your domicile, somebody breaking in your home is potentially a risk to you, because evil, malice people, criminals, are going to take advantage of this opportunity when everybody's more vulnerable. Yes, they'll even suck up the cold. I mean, it's not typical, but they'll even suck up the cold. Guys, what I want you to do is, in the feedback and the questions down below, let me know how this storm is affecting you and what you have in place. What measures are you taking to provide support for your family? If you haven't thought about keeping warm, if you haven't thought about fuel stores like gasoline, propane, and wood, you need to start thinking about those things. You guys can share the ways that you're thinking about it. And for sure, comment the progress, or I guess as things kind of deteriorate, how things are evolving in your own communities. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.